what do you do when your parents or your loved ones, maybe your spouse, just doesn't get what you do as a creative, and they don't understand how you could possibly make money from being a creative? And maybe they don't even understand it online. Like, why are you spending so much time on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram? What's the point of doing YouTube videos? Where's your career? Where's your business? How are you going to make money? So family and loved ones is actually a really huge barrier for many people when they're starting out in their creative businesses, or even if they've been in creative business for years, but it's been maybe more traditional, so something very physical in their creativity that the older generation or our loved ones who are not creatives could understand. And then all of a sudden we move online, and that can seem like a really sort of ephemeral, mercurial, non-tangible place, and many people get worried for us. Now, my experience in this was about 8 years ago when I started going online with my business. So I've been a creative, an artist, since I was 3 years old. So my parents have always supported my creativity. Whenever I had an exhibition, or I taught art to children, or ran an art camp out of my house, all those things, or when I ran a shop with my art and my fabrics, my parents were 100% behind me, and because they understood it. They knew what I was doing, they recognized that world, because it was kind of the old model world. And all of a sudden in 2012, I started going online for various reasons, and one of them being that I knew that the future for me was online. So I started spending a lot of time on Facebook, had my website, was blogging, and from the outside it looked like I was just spending a lot of time on social media doing sweet Fanny Adams, like, how are you making money, Emma? Go and get a job. So all of a sudden my very supportive parents, although they were still supportive of me, they were worried and concerned, and they wanted to steer me in another direction. Now, on top of me going online, personally, my husband and I were going through some financial issues because we were very affected by the GFC in 2008. Really affected. And my parents could see that from the outside. And of course, our parents love us dearly, and they love me dearly. And they were terrified for me. Obviously, often love is translated into fear. So when people push back on us, when our loved ones push back and say they don't understand, or they are negative about what we're doing, it's actually because they love us. And their love is translated into fear and negativity because they don't know how else to be. So my parents had this double whammy. They saw their daughter sort of suffering financially with her family, and I had 2 young kids at the time, and they saw me moving from something tangible like a shop, exhibitions, teaching, to this intangible of social media, online. And I was trying to make things work. And of course, when you try and make things work, things don't work for many years. That's why we're trying to make things work, because nothing really works first time round. So my parents were very keen. Well, I wouldn't say my parents. My mother at one stage did say to me, Emma, when's this going to end? And this being the online sort of arm to my business, me trying to make it online back in 2012, 13, 14. When is this going to end? And I remember it so distinctly. She was sitting at my kitchen bench, saying, when is this going to end, Emma? Why don't you go and get a job in the supermarket? My heart sank. Now, it wasn't to do with going to get a job in the supermarket. There is nothing wrong with working in a supermarket. But my goal, my ambition, my drive was not that. I knew that I could make it doing my art and creativity online. And my parents just didn't see it. My father, these days, he's all over, social media and has a podcast, and he gets it now. He does Zoom. He's 70 odd and he still works using Zoom. So he's totally embraced social media and online. But back then, 8 years ago, he just said to me, I don't get it, Emma, what are you doing? I don't understand how you're going to make money from this. So I understand spouses, loved ones, parents not understanding it. And I was just listening to a really great podcast episode where a guy who we would term as a YouTuber, from India, was making a lot of money on YouTube, and his parents luckily understood it and they always supported him. But he sort of flipped it around and he said, if you have parents that don't support you or a spouse that doesn't understand the online world, just flip it around and say something like, I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, and my schoolroom, my classroom is YouTube. Because most of us go onto YouTube to teach something, to show something, to educate, to show ourselves as the expert. And so as soon as you say, I'm teaching, I'm a speaker, I write books, but one of my classrooms, one of my stages, the platform I work from is social media, that then all of a sudden brings the old paradigm and things that people recognize, the old way of doing things, brings it up to date, and people go, oh yeah, I see that YouTube is probably just another classroom, it's just a digital classroom. So that's a really great way of finding a way to bring what you're doing creatively, bring it into something that they would understand and go, this is what I'm doing, but I'm doing it digitally. This is what I'm doing, but I'm using my creativity. So we're moving something on. I mean, we can speak to our parents, maybe different generation, and say, what used to be a simple mobile phone or a phone with an answer machine or going to Yellow Pages or buying a GPS, all of that's gone digital, all of that's gone online. And they can understand that because I'm sure our parents, our loved ones, they use, their smartphones for all kinds of things that they wouldn't even think twice about. But as soon as it's their loved ones using digital space and online, it becomes this scary, intangible place. So I don't know quite what I'm trying to wrap up here with, but if you're getting pushback from your loved ones, do know that mostly it's out of love and fear. So love gets translated into fear when people don't know how to express it any differently. They want to keep us safe. They want to keep us from the pain and the suffering that they maybe understand through their lives. But generations move on, technology moves on, places of work move on, business models move on, and no doubt when our parents or people from maybe a different generation were young, the stuff that they were doing, their parents and their grandparents and their loved ones probably didn't understand. Now that has become standard. And that's become like the old-fashioned way. But back in the day, that probably was very new, was very young, was very rebellious, maybe a bit disrespectful. It wasn't following the patterns that their parents and grandparents understood. So we can always bring it back to them and say, I'm just doing what maybe you did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Please don't be afraid. So yeah, that's all I have to say about parents and loved ones who might not understand what we're doing. And I just want to say to you as the creative using online, keep going. Don't let their fear become your reality and your fear, because there are so many of us, so many people making good money using the online space, being digital educators, creating art digitally, selling intangibles or seemingly intangible things to people across the world. Don't stop. The world needs what you're doing. You can make money from this, and you absolutely should make money from it. And don't let other people's fear hold you back.